Doctor, look.
Stand aside, nurse. I'm Dr. Homebrew.
Stand clear.
Welcome, everybody. This is Dr. Homebrew. Here we are. We're with you right here in the studio on an undisclosed weekday night. I'm not going to tell you what day of the week it is because then you would just stalk us, and I don't appreciate that.
We would have people in the chat room and stuff.
I would just, women screaming, all that kind of stuff. Mainly go away, but, for the most part, I'm correct. I'm not incorrect.
Women scream for Dr. Homebrew all the time, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, people know doctors don't work Saturday, Sunday, Monday, so that only leaves 4 days for them to kind of narrow down for when we might be here.
For them to scream.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, we got a good show for you, of course, because that's what we do. Brian, what do we have? We have a
California Common.
California Common.
And a Doppelbock.
And a Doppelbock, okay. How many Doppelbocks do you think we've gotten on this show?
8.
Not many.
Not enough.
Are you just like making that up? Or, I would guess if I had to put a number on, I would say like 4.
Maybe you're right.
Nope. In 100, I just touched the microphone.
Somebody do the math for us, and if you, yeah.
Jason's totally scratching his beard and like rubbing it on his sleeve. Oh my God, I touched the mic.
No, my lip touched the mic cover, which is.
Oh yeah,
dude, my lips are all over this mic cover. It's nobody uses mic because my lips are all over this thing.
Warren uses that mic.
You gotta build up your tolerance somehow.
So it's like I'm licking Warren's beard right now.
That's true.
Oh God, that's disgusting.
That's true. Okay, and then for the Doppelbock, we have Kevin in the studio. Kevin, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Perfect. Here, I should probably turn your mic.
That might help. Let's try
that again. Kevin, how you doing, man?
Doing all right. How are you?
Nah, not too bad. Not too bad.
All right.
Thanks for coming in, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. All right. We'll do the Doppelbock with you later, but we're going to do the California Common first. I think what we're going to do is take a quick break.
Yeah.
Though.
So, yeah.
Brian Shaw, do you have any shout-outs that you want to get out of the way?
Time.
Actually, I want to say hi to my mom. I got my mom, or I gave my mom a tablet that I had, kind of an older tablet I've never used for Mother's Day.
Stone tablet?
Because she's fine. Exactly. You take a chisel and a hammer and some shit. So,
I have 5 lines on it, but I just wiped it.
No, my mom has finally expressed an interest after like 15 years of maybe using the internet or a tablet or something.
Yeah.
So I thought, you know what? This thing's gathering dust at my place. I'm going to box it up and ship it to her. So I put Stitcher on there in advance with Dr. Homebrew and the Norwegian Serial Killer podcast, which is supposed to be really good. But that way, Mom, if you're listening, hope you're enjoying Dr. Homebrew.
Yeah,
hope you're proud of me, Mom. I love you.
Yeah, and your free trip to Norway that I'm giving you.
Yeah, this time this is in Norway. Hello, dear listeners. Yeah.
I hope neither of my parents ever start listening to this show.
Brian, we raised you better than this. Right. I'm not sure if that's your parents or my parents at this point.
I want to give a shout out to my homebrew club, the Mad Zymerages, of which I am currently the secretary. We had a meeting about 3 weeks ago, and I still haven't posted the minutes, so I'm slacking. But Kevin, our guest for tonight in the studio, is a part of our illustrious club.
Oh.
And I believe also a dual membership with Doe's, which is another fine club.
Definitely.
And
it's all right.
Yeah. He's brewed some tasty beers over the years, and
awesome.
It's fun having him on. And we were sitting at a homebrew club meeting, and he said, I have a beer I want some feedback on.
Yeah.
And I just had a guy drop out of the show, and I was like,
I know some
come
guys.
down up to Concord?
All right.
And he was game.
Well, good. That sounds good. All right. Let's take a quick break real fast. Then we'll come back. We'll jump right into the beers. It'll be a good time. It'll also be Dr. Homebrew. So hang on. We'll be right back.
Now, back to the examination.
All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for sticking with us. We're going to get Josh on the line here and talk some Cal Common, which is another good style.
Yeah, we don't get that very often, and that's a
No.
kind of a California-specific style, and one of the few, has our fine state's name in the title. It is a 19B in your 2015 BJCP guidelines.
Yes, absolutely.
It is known for its toasty and minty hop notes
and woody
from the northern style.
Minty?
Woody and minty and quote rustic.
Shit!
Hop aromas.
I didn't know that.
And I was talking with Brian earlier, trying to figure out what rustic smells like, and you told me to what?
Go lick a barn.
Yeah. Get out of my face.
Go lick a barn.
Go lick a barn, and that's going to be rustic. No, but I think what they're trying to say is like Northern Brewer is the classic hop that's like woody and minty, and I don't know what the hell rustic is supposed to taste like either. That's like the dumbest thing.
Like unfinished?
Sorry, Gordon.
Yeah, I don't know. We got Josh on the line. Josh, are you there?
What's up, guys?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Oh, good, man. How about you guys?
Nice, not too bad.
Oh my God, I can see Josh on the screen right there. It's like he's videoing in. Oh my God.
Hey,
Yeah,
This is
with
like
Turtle
the
Beach,
21st.
buddy.
I know it's the 21st century or some shit going on here.
Aren't they supposed to turn their video off so we get better audio quality, or do we not care about that
I don't care. It's fine. What, you look like is that your old gamer headset you got going on, Josh?
Yeah,
what are you
dude,
playing?
Turtle Beach.
What are you playing?
It's good stuff.
What game are you playing?
PS4, I play Division 2.
Oh, okay. I haven't done Division 2 yet, but I'm a big Destiny 2 guy. Battlefront, basically all the 2 games,
Yep.
right?
There you go. There you go.
That's how you got to do it, right?
Do you want to give us your handle online here so that if anybody wants to game with you, they can join your gaming group or something?
No, I'm not that good, man. You don't want to know.
Josh, where are you calling us from?
Bridger, Montana.
And
Nice.
you're a member of a homebrew club?
I am Rimrock Brewers Guild in Billings.
Nice. Oh my God, those initials don't form a pun.
Yeah, sorry about
I know.
that.
Yeah.
Holy cow, you
We have to
guys are
kick you
totally unique. Yeah, we're done here now.
We have to
There you
kick
go.
you off right now. Josh, how long you been homebrewing, man?
Probably 5 or 6 years. I started out with extract and made my way up to all grain. So
Absolutely. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And this is Cal Common. Even though you're not in California, you attempted this style anyway, which is very ballsy of
attempted.
you. Yes, it's very ballsy of you. Have you done it before?
No, this is the first time.
Okay.
I did try it again, but yeah, I don't know. It was my first time with my glycol system, so I had some bugs to work out. But yeah, we'll see how this one goes.
Not too bad.
Yeah. Does Anchor Steam make its way out there that far to Montana?
No. That's kind of why I wanted to send it to you guys to see, what you guys think of it, because we don't have any good examples up here. So.
It's tricky, man. It's one of those styles that I find doesn't really travel well. Whenever I get an Anchor, even in California, in the Bay Area, I'll have Anchor Steam that's a month and a half old, and it just kind of tastes like harsh.
Yeah, well, either way, bro, I'll give you our California take on this beer, man.
Jason, have you been to Anchor?
Yeah.
And I love Anchor, and they're great people, and I love their beer. But oh my God, they chill by like having that wort go over that external column. That's just so it gets aerated so much. That to me, that's why it's perfect if you have it within the steam in particular. It's perfect to have Anchor Steam within 20 miles of the brewery. Once you get more than like 20 miles away, it gets to be kind of problematic with freshness, in my opinion.
For sure. Well, even in bars in San Francisco, I'll have a bottle, and it's like you don't know. It's for me, it's one of those problematic beers because if it's not stored exactly properly, it can kind of get weird. And maybe I don't know how stylistically that is versus just how it's made or whatever. But Anchor Steam is great. The style is awesome when it's fresh. Yeah.
Exactly.
So let's
it
drink
gets
some
even
of this.
more wood or mint.
Mint. More mint. I've never gotten mint out of Northern Brewer. I know that's kind of the default thing, but
have you ever gotten wood from a Northern Brewer?
Well, yeah, but it was a long time ago before they sold to Anheuser-Busch. Brian Shar.
Yes.
Why don't you start us off today?
That is my name. Yes, I am happy to. So this is a tough beer to judge because, the we were just discussing, Anchor Steam is the classic style. So you don't want to judge this like it's a clone beer where it has to be a clone of Anchor Steam, right? This is a style. It's a range of beer. And things like you're in Montana, so you didn't have a chance to have, Faction Brewing here in Alameda makes something called Tasty Vapor. They brew with Mike McDole of the Brewing Network. with him or to his recipe. And it's a little hoppier, a little different. That's a different take on Cal Common, which is good for kind of opening your eyes. So we judge this, and we tried really hard to not judge it on the grounds of whether it's a clone of Anchor Steam or not, because that's not what the guidelines are. Aroma, I thought the aroma initially was, to me, I got like a Venice and port-like sort of impression. Low hop aroma, which is fine for the style. Got kind of a fruit salad, almost honey aroma of ester. A little plastic phenol in the aroma. So overall, gave that a 7 of 12. Appearance 3 of 3. Beer's crystal clear. Head's low but persistent. Color is golden brown, exactly like it ought to be, so that's perfect. Flavor, we'll talk about this later because I'm curious about your packaging and when you brewed this. But my initial impression was malt and paper. It got very much like a wet paper kind of oxidized character from this. Medium-high caramel character. And the caramel can kind of also be associated with an oxidation. Typically, oxidation tends to ramp up a caramel impression. Got some of the fruit salad esters and mid-palate that I'd gotten in the aroma. Bitterness comes up to balance in mid-palate, and it's slightly balanced toward the bitter, which is good, appropriate for the style, and through the finish, the bitterness kind of lingered. It's well attenuated. One thing I noticed, I didn't get a lot of hop flavor, and especially did not get that kind of woody, minty hop flavor that's kind of the signature of this style. It doesn't have to be that hop, but the hop flavor itself was kind of muted. Again, kind of consistent with maybe an older or perhaps oxidized example. So I gave this 9 out of 12 for flavor. Mouthfeel, 4 out of 5. Body's medium, carbonation low, no warming. It's not really creamy, but it's not a creamy style. That's all fine. I did get a light astringency in the finish, which is what caused me to knock a point off. I want to talk about your water treatment. I'm curious if that might have come from water treatment or from some other source. But that's 4 out of 5. Overall impression, 5 out of 10. I think this is a good beer with just a few issues. The primary one to me was the oxidation, and the sort of paper character tells me this beer might just be an older than optimal sample. And it may have been a lot better perhaps earlier, but we'll talk about that after Brian with these details about when it was brewed and when it was sent and about your packaging. A little more estery than expected. This is a tricky yeast because this is kind of a hybrid style, right? I mean, you're taking a lager yeast and you're fermenting at higher than expected temperature. So this is, I think, a more difficult style than a typical homebrew to brew. So this ended up being a little more estery than I might have liked. If you can control fermentation temperature, we'll talk about that later too. That would be ideal. And I'm also curious about your hop selection, because if it's not Northern Brewer, at least some Northern Brewers, typically a good idea in this style. Overall, gave this 28 out of 50. That's still a good rating. I think that this is primarily the issues you might have are related to age and possibly recipe. But overall, I think your process is good. And look forward to hearing more about it later. So thanks for sharing.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. All right, Brian.
All right.
Coop. Coop.
Thank you for sending your beer. We received bottles that had labels on them. And I used to, bottle beers in labeled bottles, and it doesn't make a difference. But snobby people like JP will look down upon a beer that comes
100%
in a bottle that has not had its label removed. And I used to get shit from my fellow clubmates about it. So I have since taken to the practice of doing the good old practice of just, soaking some PBW, get those labels off, clean the bottles, and make it look nice and pretty, like you're going to enter in a competition, even though you're just pouring it for your friends and it doesn't make a freaking difference.
Well, this is the first bottle, and you've been on the show from the jump pretty much, right? Like we've been through this before. This is the first bottles that I've had that have come from a commercial label went on, right? Mm-hmm. That haven't been contaminated. Mm-hmm. And every time before,
It was.
I've called it. I've said I in my head. I'm like, this is fucking contaminated. I remember. I thought I wrote them down one time. I thought I wrote it down. I was like, see, I told you. But this one isn't, because normally it's just a point of contamination where you can carry. You can't get the bottle fully clean on the outside, and if you're messy at bottling, or if you just kind of touch something, it's just it's a point to not.
Well, the beer doesn't go from the outside of the bottle back to the inside.
No, but your hand does if you touch the cap, or if and if you're not clean with your practice. So
there could be a point of contamination, I suppose.
And it's more, to me, an indicator, and it's certainly not in this beer, but sometimes you get a beer like that, and it's an indicator that the person that bottled it doesn't really understand about sanitation or cleanliness, and it makes you more wary. It's like, oh, God, what's going to be in here? Because how well did this bottle get cleaned if the label outside didn't come off?
Right.
But I didn't. That, to me, I had a couple of issues with this beer, but none of them related to contamination or lack of cleanliness.
Right. And I guess, I don't know if it's to anybody's point, but it's the first time, like I said, in 6 years that we've had a bottle with labels on it that hasn't been contaminated.
Yeah.
So there you go. Sorry, Cooper. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to have that little conversation because I don't. Yeah, if you're careful bottling, you can bottle in a bottle like that just fine and not have a problem.
Sure,
right.
But if you aren't careful, you might have a little chance of issue. But that said, both bottles tasted the same to me, and I didn't let it color my impression of the beer. I am that good of a judge. Medium
you
light.
should be like a Grandmaster 30 at this point, dude. You're like the double Grand Squared Master.
I don't grade enough exams for that. Aroma-wise, I'm getting a medium light caramelly and toasty malt note in there. It's pretty richly malty in there. Slightly coarse, kind of unrefined classic style hops, I guess you could say. I want to imagine some wood and mint in there and rusticness. It's a little woody, I would say. Lightly fruity with kind of a stone fruit like note. Yeah, it does smell a little bit like a barn.
Yeah, Brian licked a barn just a second ago. Exactly.
Yeah, that's where I was the last 20 minutes.
What was his name?
Finding the nearest barn. Finding the nearest bar and licking it. That's
not Brian,
right?
Yeah, barn. Yeah.
Okay.
I hate
anyway. No DMS or diacetyl in there. It's kind of a low temp ale ferment. I didn't get any big fruitiness off of it.
Big fruity.
Like it wasn't super estery.
No.
Appearance wise, it's an amber colored beer with a low light tan head. Faded fairly soon after pouring in this glass. Pretty creamy texture to the head though that was there, and some very fine bubbles. Seems like would be a finely formed head normally, but it's kind of falling flat a little bit. Flavor-wise, low caramel and toasty malt, medium-low bitterness. I get a little bit of the woody, a little hint of some kind of mint or spice in there, kind of the classic American hop note. It's not a citrusy hop. It's not a super herbal or floral hop. So it's in the neighborhood for me, honestly. I'm guessing there probably is some Northern Brewer in there, because if you clone brew a steam beer or a Cal Common, you're going to put some Northern Brewer in there usually. You might blend it with something else and have some fun, but hopefully it's there. We'll find out. I did get a light phenolic in this beer. It's expressing itself to me as kind of a light plasticky and spicy and slightly medicinal kind of quality. And I get it as I aspirate the beer, like you put a little beer in your mouth, kind of keep it in the front of your mouth, and then breathe in through that beer. So it kind of, you aspirate the beer, and it pops out a little more when I do that. It's low. It's not really high, but there's something funky in there. And I admit I'm sensitive to phenolics, but it really, there's a little edge to there that is that kind of medicinal kind of flavor. And that could come from wild yeast or anything else. We'll talk about that a little more in a bit here. So it finishes kind of semi-dry. It's not a super sweet beer. And that phenolic to me kind of lingers in the aftertaste a little bit as it dries off the tongue. Kind of remains there. I was like, yeah, there's that phenolic. Mouthfeel wise, it's medium bodied. I get a little bit biting quality a bit of a biting quality probably from the phenolic. but also possibly some astringency, which to me could be a little related. There's something a little husk-like or biting in there. Medium low carbonation. I'm feeling a bit of warming, which is odd because I didn't smell a lot of alcohol or taste a lot of alcohol. I got a slight warming impression from the beer. Not really strong, but it's a little sharp and kind of feels maybe bigger than it should be. And a little harsher than it should be. So I marked it down a bit in the mouthfeel for those kind of little details, but really overall, it's not a bad attempt at the Kilcommon style. It's right in the territory for seems like gravity wise, color wise, appearance wise, even hop wise to me. It seems like you used good ingredients. It's just a bit distracting with that phenolic, and you got to watch for contamination or any chance of any bacteria or wild yeast getting into your fermentation once you cool the wort down. Of course, the classic advice for chlorophenols especially is to avoid chlorine sanitizer. In the old days, back in the 1990s and 80s, when these early homebrewers were like,
don't use bleach, no bleach. Yes,
I use bleach. I was like, no, yeah, I'm sure you're doing things right using Star San.
Ask me when the last time I used bleach to clean was.
Iota 4 or something. That's
you killed the last prostitute you're with.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, for brewing, I mean, 1996-ish. Yes.
I think I would like to see a little less carameliness in this beer, and it was a good beer. I just missed the mark a little bit and had a little defect there, so I dropped it down to a 27. It's not a bad Kilcommon, and if you cleaned up those things, you could definitely get up into the 30s or higher, and keep brewing that and come taste some Anchor Steam out here fresh, as close to the source as you can get.
Exactly. At the brewery if you can. Yeah, it's a great tour. It's worth going to if you ever get down here.
The copper is beautiful there.
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing it.
Yeah. All right, Josh, you got any questions for these dudes?
Well, you guys want to go over my recipe?
Oh, yes,
please.
Yeah,
I'm not going to run your show, brother, but...
love to hear it. Tell me everything you can tell me about this beer,
Sometimes
man.
we forget to ask.
Someone's been playing the Division 2 a little too much.
Yeah, there you go.
Trying to boss me around, motherfucker. Go ahead, man.
So, I kind of threw a little screwball at you guys because I didn't use lager yeast. I used SO4.
Okay.
So for my yeast, just kind of blended some stuff that I had together. So what I used is this was a 10-gallon batch, and I did 16 pounds of a 2-row roar, and then I did 2.5 pounds of Crystal 40 level bond, and 1.5 pounds of 80 level bond caramel, and then 1 pound of Cara Pils. And then for my hops, I did use Northern Brewer. I used 1.5 ounces for 60 minutes. And then I did Pearl for my last 10 minutes. I used 4 ounces of that. And then I also I split the batches because I only have the 5 gallon carboys, which I've upgraded to plastic conicals now. But I did 4 ounces of Pearl that I dry hopped for 3 days in one of my carboys, and then I blended them together. So
interesting. Okay. I have some thoughts about that later. So when did you brew this?
It was February. Let's see, 24th of February
of 2019.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm not my dad. I'm going to call me sir.
Okay.
So,
but I am my mom, so call me Mick.
Bad habit, man.
Do you do fermentation? Do you do fermentation temp control?
I do. Yeah. So this one, I've got the chest freezer with the ITC 1000, and then but I went away from that, and of course, being up here in Montana, we don't have to worry about cooling at that time of year. We have to worry about heating. So I used heating in that, but now I've actually built my own glycol chiller. because I'm an HVAC guy. So,
oh wow.
Yeah. So my next one, I've actually got a porter in the garage right now.
Damn.
Yeah. So I have that with the fast ferments, the 14 gallons. Yeah.
So you're fermenting in the fast ferment, which is like a thick plastic. That's nothing wrong with that. It's oxygen impermeable generally. Yep. So how did you bottle this beer to ship to us from the fast ferments?
So I didn't do this from the fast ferment. This beer is from the 5-gallon glass carboys.
Oh, okay. So then, how did you get it from the carboy to the bottle?
I just did a transfer to the bucket, and then transferred it on top of sugar, and then did natural carbonation.
Okay.
Just did that and then bottled it off of that.
That's really weird because to me, I mean, that's not dissimilar to what I've done for many years. I don't quite do that now, but it's I've entered beers for comp, and I've placed with beers I've done just that way. And to me, I mean, it's just kind of odd that this comes across to me in a lot of ways as like really oxidized. But so I'm kind of wondering where the oxygen is coming from because this is only like 3 months old.
Is it just the crystal malt?
Maybe the crystal malt is making me think oxidized when it's not.
What crystal malt did you use again?
I used 12% of 40 and then 7% of 80.
It seems like a lot of crystal to me.
That's what Jason, you're right. Jason, you're right. This is a recipe thing and not an oxidation thing because that's a lot of dark crystal.
I'm not getting oxidation, but I do get the phenolic.
And that's what that's to me what's coming across as oxidized. It's like that huge caramel flavor from the darker crystal. And also to me, you talked about your hop schedule. I'm sorry, I'm going to just jump in with some stuff here. The Northern Brewer is it doesn't have to be the signature hop, but the reality is that's the, quote, signature hop for this style. And you put the Northern Brewer in at the very beginning for bittering, so most of the flavor and aroma character doesn't come out with that. You end up with Perlé, and Perlé is a perfectly fine hop. I like Perlé for a lot of things. But if you want to have that kind of, quote, woody, minty, rustic, the thing the style calls for, I would have at least probably half. I would shift your hops around. Use whatever you want for bittering. I would have probably 50% of your late hops be Northern Brewer, maybe mixed with Perlé, right? Because what we're getting for the flavor and the aroma, and I kind of noted that on my score sheet, you're kind of missing that minty/woody Northern Brewer flavor, which doesn't have to be 100% of the flavor or even half, but in terms of trying to hit what the style says, that would probably help you out a lot to maybe flip around your hop schedule a little bit to have more Northern Brewer toward the end.
Okay. That sounds good. So also, I stored this in my pantry, so I let it, get carbonation and stuff like that, and then I just left it in there. And then basically just I think I might have cooled it before I shipped it to you guys, but I don't think so. So would that have any effect too? That I just kind of stored it about 70 or something like that.
Did you cap on foam?
No, it's bottle conditioned.
No,
or did you cap on? Or did you?
Bottle
I guess not cap on foam, but did you?
Yeah.
I mean, even that little because you're going to have secondary fermentation. I've always believed that little bit of oxygen in the headspace gets consumed during
scavenged. Yeah, that's what I feel like too.
So I don't feel like I gotta. This came across to me as really oxidized. I mean, you talk about your recipe, our discussion we just had. What that's telling me is what I'm tasting is your recipe, and not oxidation.
Yeah, I think it's a little sweet, and that's really the issue.
Yeah, I thought there was a little too much caramel, but I didn't get big oxidation.
No, I mean to me it came across more like a tannic raisin. And that's how I kind of know that it's not necessarily oxidation, because for me, oxidation's a little sweeter, but it's like raisiny but dry.
A tannic raisin, that's an interesting...
right? It's weird, right?
Yeah, that's a good good pearl of wisdom. Right? A good perlé of wisdom you gave us, Jason.
How minty.
Actually pronounced perla in the German.
I totally messed it up.
It's okay. It is the German word for pearl, so you can say pearl. That's fine.
Okay.
My ancestors are slapping me from their grave right now. Yes,
probably.
Perla.
So my water also, guys, is really hard up here. We have really alkaline water.
Nice.
So I cut it with phosphoric acid, and I added 10 mils of 75% actually to try and cut that water down, which I have actually recently went to RO water that I have now in my house. So I'm actually going to cut that, half and half with well water and then also with RO to kind of help the minerals out. But man, my alkaline is just,
that's going to help.
Really hard. It's not very hard, but it's really hard.
Yeah.
Josh, I'll tell you this: your water treatment, I didn't notice at all, which is the goal. And I'll tell you, the single biggest flaw that I've seen in competitions judging in the last 2 or 3 years is people over adjusting their water. And you get a beer, and it's like licking a rock. And people are adjusting, and they don't understand their base water. They don't understand how to adjust their RO. They do something, and it's just overly minerally, metallic, or bad. Whatever you're doing for your water, you are spot on with your water.
If you don't know,
I don't notice. And if you hadn't told me, I wouldn't have known.
Yeah. If you don't know exactly where you're starting, you can never get to where you're wanting to go.
So that's all from Jamil and John on Brew Strong, and then
those guys,
with the session and
whatever you're doing with your water, keep doing it because I can't. That's the key thing. I can't tell, and that's the way it ought to be.
Okay, right.
That's right.
Go easy when in doubt. Go light.
Okay.
Anything else, man, or?
Nope, I think that's it. Yeah. Just kind of switch them. What would you guys think about like my crystal malts? Just reduce both of them, you think, or what?
I think I would drop the 80 more than the 40.
I don't think you need it.
I might even just take it out.
Well, but I do like the two different crystal malts. I'm kind of a fan of layering your crystal malt. So maybe you could go down and do like a 20-40. Or whatever.
You can also layer with more of a toasty malt,
Vienna or a Munich.
Vienna.
But I would definitely bring down that 80, maybe by 30, 40, 50%.
I don't think you need it in there at all. I think Calicommon should not have those kind of more raisiny notes to it.
It's giving it some of the color that's nice, but it's also darker than Anchor Steam, so you don't need all that color. So try
like a 15 or a 20. Like I like Crystal 15 has a really good flavor. Like
got some Parapils in there too.
So that's true.
Yeah, it's already kind of doing some of that.
I mean, and what you have 7% of the 80. Was it?
Yeah, 7%. Yep.
Yeah. So ultimately, Josh, I think you just had. I thought you had process problems, but you have just a few minor recipe things. Just tweak it; it's going to be great. Send it back to us.
Do you think you could just kill it? I mean, 7% is a lot. Maybe take it down maybe take it down to 2%.
Yeah, two or three. If you want to keep it, make it 2 or 3.
You'll get a little dimension, right? You'll still get a little dimension out of there, which is kind of the goal.
A little color, a little bit of a what is that flavor in the background kind of thing.
Gotcha.
I don't know.
Okay.
And then
what about the
you're right,
yeast?
Jason. 7%'s a lot.
Is that something too, or no?
Oh, sorry.
Yeast?
Go ahead.
Is the yeast?
Oh, the yeast. Since I didn't use lager yeast,
it was. There was you picked up on a little more fruitiness, I think, Brian.
Yeah.
I think that regardless of what yeast, the point of the yeast, I mean, you want to. This is such a weird style, right? Because classically, it's a lager yeast fermented hot to get esters. But you want to have a little ester character. So however you get there, right? Whether it's with SO4 or something, and you ferment at whatever temperature to give it a little ester, or you use lager yeast, you ferment warm. It's a tough. This is why I think this is a really hard style to homebrew, because it's one where temp really becomes an issue, right, Brian? What do you think?
Well, since you have the ability to do a 10-gallon batch, I would take a 10-gallon batch and ferment half of it with the lager yeast at low 60 degrees and half of it with your ale yeast that it really wasn't bad, but maybe just keep it low so it's not giving it a lot of fruitiness.
Right.
Well, I wonder if you can just make a starter and put it at low 60s with high end for the lager yeast, put it in the fridge or whatever, and then do the same with a high ale yeast, and then you just taste, because really you're just looking for the flavors that are kicking off. I mean, I know it's going to be different, but if they're anywhere 60% to where they would be in a beer, then maybe that's the route you try. So you can do a bunch of different trials if you're just trying to figure out what method pushes the the phenols and the esters that you want, right?
Yeah, I mean, classically, just get a clean German lager yeast and do it that way because that's the classic way. But again, your ale yeast, it wasn't like, oh my God, it's so fruity to me.
Right.
It was, you can do a similar thing, but it's not the classic way to do it. So I would try to stick to as classic. My judge advice to you would be stick to as classic as you can do.
Yeah.
I think you're really close, man.
Agreed.
Okay. Cool.
Well,
thanks, guys. I think that's it.
Yeah.
And always good listening to you guys.
Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
Don't listen to those other shows, though.
Thank you for sharing.
All right, later, man.
Yeah. All right.
Bye. Cool. All right. We're going to take a break here, Bev. What do you think of that? You ready for a break?
She's not union.
She gives me the thumbs up, and so that means it's break time, everybody. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to speak with Kevin with his Doppelbock. He's in studio, so we don't have to worry about watching a video of him. We get him in real life.
We do have to worry about him, hurting us if we don't like his beer.
Lunging over the table. And,
tough kid.
Well, you guys are closer than I am, so I'm all right.
He's sitting right next to me. I'm going to get my ass kicked.
All right, everybody. This is Dr. Homebrew. We'll be right back.
I'm sorry to tell you this, but we're going to have to pour you out.
Back to Dr. Homebrew.
Hey, thanks for hanging on, everybody. Appreciate it.
They just turned it off after that last segment.
Big preaches go out to you guys for listening to this show. All right, Kevin, man, what's up, dude?
Not much.
Why not?
I was hanging out here.
Welcome to the studio.
Well, that's cool, man. Let me turn you up a little bit here. So you got a Doppelbock, man. That's cool. You brewed a Doppelbock before?
Nope, this was my first lager.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Really? Your first lager was a Doppelbock?
Yeah.
You are a brave man.
It was a Doe's internal club comp that we did. So I brewed this with Max Brown and Damian Clausen of Club Doe's.
Okay.
Nice.
Good company.
It was a challenge, kind of, brew bigger styles, and so that's my first Doppelbock.
Nice.
Wow.
Decocted?
No.
How many beers have you brewed before this? Generally, roughly speaking.
Point, you already judged the beers. So this was brewed in 2017. So it's about a year and a half old now. And at that point, probably 50 beers on my belt.
Nice. Very good.
Okay. Yeah, not too shabby. All right, let's get some poured, and let's drink some Doppelbock. What do you guys think?
I'm down.
We've done this for 6 years, and we're still waiting for the beers to be poured. Coming back from break, Bev.
Oh, yeah. That's some nice radio right there.
No, I'm just commenting. If you want it to be, a producer job, for example, that could be a producer job, too.
I don't produce this show. I run the video on this show.
Yeah, it's producing.
No, son.
No?
I tried to warm it up a little bit. That took extra time, JP, and perfection takes time. So don't complain.
Don't ask.
Yeah, just don't complain.
I've been working this job for 6 years. I could quit anytime I want.
You sure can. It'd probably be better for your mental health.
Yeah.
Beer looks good. I give it a 50. Let's go. All right.
Okay.
Into the show.
50.
Show over. Thanks
for
everybody.
coming,
Good
Kev.
night.
Can you imagine we just ended the show? Kevin's like, what the fuck? I've been sitting here for 2 hours for that.
We're not even going to talk about the beer.
Yeah. All right, Brian Cooper.
Well, we know it's not decocted, so I just deducted 5 points. The bottle had a good fill, nice hiss when we opened it. In the nose, strongly malty. Some definite Maillard byproducts in there. Those flavors that come up with the color reactions. It's a nice, they used to call them melanoidins, but that's really more of a color product. So there's a whole change that, they still have to come up with just a good word for that. I think a word should be invented for Maillard byproducts because I really don't like saying that. I liked saying melanoidins better, but anyway, I digress. Lightly caramelly, bread crust-like malt, cleanly and lightly spicy alcohol. It's a clean, lightly spicy alcohol. This is the second show of the night, and we've had a little bit of beer.
Let's do a third show, Brian.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Danger, Will Robinson. There's no obvious hop aroma. You don't need any hop in this beer. It smells really rich and smooth. It's inviting. It seems very cleanly lagered, and that nice rich aroma and the alcohol makes you want to take a sip before you even look at the appearance. But as a judge, you have to look at the appearance, and it's beautiful. It's a nice reddish, light copper color with it has some reddish orange highlights. It's brilliantly clear. The head did fade fairly quickly after being poured, probably due to the alcohol in this beer, which is pretty evident in the nose, and then we get into the flavor, and yep, I taste some alcohol. It's probably on the stronger end for the style, I would say. This beer is richly malty with malty. Stop me now.
Brian's already dead. That's
I think this is this warming, Brian? Are you warming up a little right now?
The drunk history version of Dr. Homebrew. Notes of bread crust.
Malt, yeah.
There's some biscuity flavors in there, and it's got a light toffee and caramel sweetness to it. Definitely some Maillard products again in the flavor. It's balanced firmly to the malt, of course, as it should be. Low bitterness is out of the way. Clean lager ferment. Really nice clean lager ferment. For your first lager, holy shit. You were in good company there, so I think you probably learned from some good people.
Oh, yeah.
And keep making these lagers. Very firm alcohol throughout. It is maybe a bit prickly, sharp. It does come through pretty intense. And
like camping.
It lingers into the aftertaste with the malt. And that alcohol is like 1-2 punch. It's like big malt, big alcohol. Just a long finish. It just keeps going. Mouthfeel was medium full bodied, I would say. It's almost full bodied, but it's not. It's not like the biggest, most syrupy beer you've ever had. Honestly, it's not like barley wine kind of mouthfeel. It's just a little lighter and somewhat more delicate than that, but not delicate in any sense of the imagination here. Low carbonation, firm alcohol warmth. I would say medium-high warmth. That is a bit biting to me, but also welcome. And the beer nonetheless is somewhat smooth and creamy, despite everything else that's going on here, and being fairly big and a lot of warmth. But it's smooth warmth, I guess you could say. It's not really hot warmth, but it does pack a little punch. It does bite a little bit.
Okay.
So overall, it's a big Doppelbock. Kind of towards the medium light side of the style. You can go really dark and add some chocolatey flavors, but you don't need to. I think the middle ground is kind of a nice place for it to be, with this kind of coppery color instead of getting towards brown. Mm-hmm. They don't all have to be brown. It's a very nicely crafted beer. I would say nice job on that. The alcohol could be smoothed out a bit, or possibly even just reduce it a little bit with what you have here to let it play a little better with everything else. But you could sip a lot of this. It's some additional aging may also smooth it out, even if it's already 2 years in. But I think it's just going to keep getting better for maybe another year or two. And find a way to, if you can, improve that head retention a bit. The alcohol could be standing in your way here, and dropping that back a bit may improve that as well. But also look at what proteins you're leaving in there. I don't know if you did a protein rest or anything like that. You probably don't need to with the well modified malts these days, and just let it be. But it's a nice beer. I gave it a 40. I thought it's a fantastic Doppelbock.
Excellent. All right, Mr. Shar.
Yeah, I largely agree with what Brian just said. This is a really wonderful beer. Not just saying this because Kevin's sitting right next to me, who could kick my ass in like 3 seconds.
You should kick your own ass.
Professional ethical considerations as doctors of homebrew require us to speak the truth about the beers that we evaluate, right? So aroma that's again, God, you guys.
There's a code of ethics.
This is like good stuff. I'm laying down pearls here. There should be laughter and some shit. Come on, you guys.
There should be.
What you mean, perlays?
Maybe my perlays are like a lot smaller than I thought. Anyway, the aroma starts off malty with definite bread crust breadiness, like a Doppelbock should. You go to a fancy restaurant and they bring out that basket of bread at the beginning, and it smells so good. That's what this beer smells like, is that fancy basket of different breads, and you eat that bread, and you have the bread is so good, and the crust is so good. But it's pretty Jay...
Well, and that's what...
I wish you guys at home could see Jason's expression right now.
He's romanticizing about the basket of breads, but that's what freaking Maillard byproducts are.
Right.
It's a bread like the browning reactions that happen on the outside of a bread crust and you get a fresh basket of bread are the same reactions that happen in the malts in the brewing process and the fine crafting of a beer like this.
That's correct.
That bring along these flavors that you expect and you need to have in a double bock.
Thank you, Brian Cooper.
They're hard to get. So
Brian.
Thank you so much.
Continue, Brian. Don't listen to JP.
Because the thing is, it's not just bread crust, right? You look at the guidelines. It's not like it's a one-dimensional thing. A Doppelbock is a richly malty, very complex beer that has bready, toasty crust. It's not It's not like, I'm going to eat a crust of some rye bread. Nobody wants to do that just by itself. It's got complexity, right? So this aroma has a lot of complexity.
Layers.
Okay, layers, exactly. There's no hop aroma, fine for style. No off aromas. As it warms up, I get kind of a plum character. Jason, I'm looking like, why is Jason laughing
because I'm making fun of Bev. Don't worry about
it.
You
keep going.
trying to convince me that there was a booger on my face.
You keep going, Brian. Don't worry. Don't derail Brian.
Your face is fine.
There's no boogers on your face.
It's the second episode. It's the second beer of the second episode. I'm fine.
Nobody derail the Char train, please.
Yeah, I love it. Whoop, whoop.
We never know where it'll end up. We got 10 minutes left in this show.
Oh,
Let's
God.
Go.
And next, he's going to compliment the beer for not being hazy.
So the plummy is like a classic character for this type of beer. This definitely has a plum aroma as it warms, and that plumminess is related to the breadiness and the crustiness. Really well done. 9 out of 12 aroma. Appearance, 3 out of 3. This beer is crystal clear, brown with ruby highlights, perfect color. Heads low because of the high alcohol, but also very persistent. So you couldn't do any better. 3 of 3. Flavor-wise, initially the flavor is rich malt, bread crust, with some sweet ethanol. And it's not rough ethanol, right? Sometimes you have a higher alcohol beer like this, and we'll talk about your ABV later on. Sometimes you get a big beer and the fusels make it just harsh and nasty. Yeah. There is some sweet ethanol at the beginning that really just melds well with the flavor here. There is some toasty character comes up mid-palate. Overall, complex and interesting. Balance is slightly toward malt. The hopping is great, right? A beer like this is difficult. You don't want it to be, this cannot be hop-oriented. But it can't be hop absent, or it's going to be this sweet mess that's going to not taste like anything good. The balance is just perfect. The malt is just a little more than the hop bitterness, which is the way it ought to be. Carries all the way through the finish. It's well attenuated. As it warms, the alcohol gets a tinge of harshness. That's all I can say wrong is as it warms up. Maybe it's a little harsh, but overall, 15 out of 20 for flavor. This is just amazing beer. Mouthfeel, of course, it's Doppelbock. It's warming. Gosh, duh. Body's medium high. Carbonation's low. Again, fine. Leans toward creaminess. It's not a creamy beer, but if you're going to say, is it creamy or not, it's smooth. And this is the accomplishment of this beer it's a high alcohol, high malt, smooth beer. Well done. Mission accomplished, 5 out of 5. Overall impression, I gave it an 8 out of 10. I really like this beer a lot. It's tasty, it's flavorful, it's complex. A slight amount more carbonation might be helpful. I didn't knock any points off for carbonation. Carbonation was in range. I think maybe a little more carbonation, just maybe by like 10% or so, might make this beer stand up a little more. It might help drive off a little bit of the alcohol. And then as far as the very slight alcohol harshness, and I don't know if you deal with that by maybe backing off on fermentables by maybe 5%, or if you deal with that with temperature control. But I got to believe your temperature control is pretty much perfect, because otherwise this beer would have been a nasty mess as it was. But overall, it's a 40. I give this a 40. Yeah. This is a really, really well-made. I can't believe this is your very first lager, man. This is just amazing.
No fusels. And, we should talk about pitching rates for a beer like this, too, because you really have to pay attention. And neither one of us is getting any big fusels here, which would be just a telltale sign of underpitching. It doesn't seem like you messed up there at all. So, yeah.
Excellent.
Tell us how you brewed it and
please do.
what you put into it.
Yeah, so this is from brewing classic styles, basically. So it's basically 70% Munich, 20% Pilsner, and then 10% Cara Munich malt. It's got 1.5 ounces of Hallertau for 60 minutes and half an ounce of Hallertau for 30 minutes. So
that's it.
5 gallon.
Yeah.
That's all there is. What's the percent of alpha acid in that? Probably like 4%. Wow.
Yeah. So
that's really amazing that the
30,
bitterness came up the balance so well with such a kind of small. What's your batch size? 5 or 10 gallons?
This was a 15-gallon batch.
15.
But it was
my God!
Ways. It was split 3 ways for the 3 brewers that were. Involved.
But it was like 1.5 ounces or so. You used to have Hallertau for the bittering.
So that I gave you the 5 gallon
for the 5 gallon.
Gotcha. Sorry. Okay,
that's fine. But
understood.
So I think starting gravity was around 1086, and it finished around 1014. It is about 9.5%.
And that did attenuate well. Wow.
Well done.
And that lets some of the toastiness and some of the richness shine better than if you have too much sweetness there, I think.
Yes.
So, yeah, I did a starter of WLP 830 and 833. Kind of wanted some of the characters from both. And did a big starter, pitched in about, the typical
lager amount. Did you
happy slurry? Yeah.
Fermentation control.
Did it accomplish what you wanted? Did you
and the funny thing is,
the flavors that you wanted from either strain?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. I've really been high on this beer since we made it. Since I fermented it, it turned out really well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But I have gotten varying scores. Throughout the years, on this beer, from 29s to 42s.
29s, really?
29s,
damn, dude.
I can't imagine this beer ever getting a 29.
Yeah. So that's really why I would reach out to Brian, because these are the last 3 bottles I have of this one. So I'm
thank you very much for sharing these last 3 with us, man. These are really good.
Yeah. But I kind of want to get like a expert opinion on it.
And you said you're going to be brewing this one again this weekend?
Yeah.
That's awesome, yeah.
Yeah, definitely do
We'll
it.
taste it down the road with you, brother.
Do you have any questions about anything? But, it sounds like you shouldn't.
No, it was just good to kind of get, I guess the final, hey, even after a year and a half, the beer is still...
The final say, baby.
Yeah, kind of.
That's what we do here.
Yeah, I mentioned the alcohol a few times. It's definitely noticeable, and you said it was, 9.5?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it dried out. It started high, dried out pretty low, and left a lot of alcohol in there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'd be interesting to taste this one if it attenuated even a little less and left a little more sweetness and had a little less alcohol in it. I think that it might just be a little smoother that way. But
so, of the 3 brewers that were involved, I think one of them dried out to 10, and it was too much. One of them finished it in the 20s, and it was too sweet.
Yeah.
It was just
So you're the Goldilocks.
blend.
I was right. I was in the right zone. It worked out good. So
no, it's
Kevin, how many lagers have you made since this?
2. A Vienna lager last year that went to nationals.
Oh wow, nice.
Should have rebrewed it and I didn't, and it, whatever.
That's the conundrum, man.
Then, I've done a sports beer, but most of the time it's.
You know what, man? Brew what you want to brew that makes you happy, but you are doing some good stuff with lager brewing. If you brew more lagers, as far as I'm concerned, man.
That's right.
I definitely like them.
Try decoction next time.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm ever going to do that.
Triple decoction. You want to have 15-hour brew day, right?
3% of melanoid.
You could do one, a single step if you really hate yourself that day or whatever.
We'll see how it goes.
All right, well, we're done then, right, boys?
I guess that's it.
I think so.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to Dr. Homebrew. If you are a home brewer, and of course you are, because why would you be listening to this otherwise? If you're, like a welder and you just really like hearing other people geek out, this is weird. But if you're a homebrewer, email Brian at thebrewingnetwork.com, and Mr. Cooper over here will get you squared away to get on this show.
Yeah.
And it'll be a good time.
We're always looking for fresh blood.
That's right.
To critique beers. And no, honestly, it can be a beer you just want feedback on. It can be a beer that you think is great and all your friends love, but you're not sure. Maybe there's something bothering you a little bit about it or whatever. Any beer.
That's what we're here for, man.
Good or bad or ugly, we don't care. And we don't judge. Well, we judge, but we don't judge.
Yeah, we judge your beer, not you.
Yeah,
How about that? Judge the beer, not the brewers.
As far as you know.
That's the BJCP credo. Judge the beer, not the... Anyway, all right, everybody. Thanks a lot for tuning in. And, until next time.
Dankeschön.
There you go.
Good night.